So today we're installing LED headlights. Now I already installed my high beams, however I never could install my low beams just because I was actually sent the wrong bulbs. So sent those back, got the new bulb shipped in. So now I got these guys, and these are going in right now. So for my lights, I went with Lumen. Now they send you some yellow tint if you want to put those on the bulbs, but otherwise they're going to be a nice white bulb. I was thinking about going with like a slight blue tint, but I just ended up opting for the white just because that was the easiest one to get. So this is the kit. It's a pretty nice setup actually. It'll tell you what bulb you need here. Now the low beams is the 9012, and I can't quite remember. I think the high beams was the H11 or the 906. Okay, so depending on which headlight housing you have, this one is the projector housing, the other one is the reflective, and that's the one that looks more stock. You'd think that this might be aftermarket, but it's actually also a stock headlight housing. So if you have one like this with an actual projector lens, your 9006 bulb for your high beams, and then for your low beams it's going to be the 9012, where if you have the reflective one where it basically just looks like this, and then there's another one over here which is then going to be the H11 and the 9006 for the high beams. So now that I got that figured out, even though that was harshly painful, right now because I have the low beams that I'm doing in my projector headlight, I'm using the 9012 bulb. So I'm putting these guys in today. I already did my high beams, as you can see. It's a nice LED bulb inside there, and you can see the Lumen logo on the very front. So prepare to be able to take a few hours if you're doing the high beams. If you're just doing the low beams, you can probably nail this out in about half an hour. But if you're doing the high beams, definitely give probably 2 to 2.5 hours, just assuming the worst. I'll show you why. So for this, you want to open the hood, obviously. This liner right here, going all the way across, you're going to be popping this out. At every section where you see these guys, you're going to be just pulling up, and you can pop it out just with your hands. So for instance, it's a little bit easier with 2, but still doable. And you're just going to work your way all the way down until this whole piece comes off. So once you got that guy off, you're going to be basically taking off this whole front grille, which is actually fairly easy. You need to take off this guy, this guy, this guy, and this guy. And then you can basically pop it out. I believe there's a clip down here and here, and same thing on the other side. Two on each side and one in the middle. So basically when I pulled on this at the top corner, the other corner also dropped out, so the sides were immediately free. Now after that, I was kind of struggling with here, but if you keep it straight vertical, if you keep on pulling and you kind of pivot off this corner, or vice versa if you're going off the other side, it'll actually pop out of the bottom clip fairly easily. So from here, you may want a flashlight. You're going to see this guy here. Now this is where you're going to want a flathead screwdriver. I mean, you maybe could do it with your hands, but I'm just going to get a screwdriver. Okay, now it's fairly hard to see. There's actually going to be a clip in here, and what you need to do is you need to push it up. I'll show you once I get it out. You're going to basically be pulling this guy out, but you're going to need to take out this 10mm and this 10mm right here, and then after that it should be free. So something smart you can do so you can remember which bolts came from where, especially on bigger jobs, but in this case, take the bolts, and as soon as you pay attention to where you pull them from, but as soon as you can, put them right back where you got them from. Then that way you don't necessarily forget where you got them from. That way you don't mix match bolts in certain places where they're going to be less effective or maybe not what's needed. So yeah, after giving it quite a good pull, it will release if you pull on these. But the reason why we went on the wheel well earlier, right in here, is because, as you can see up here, there's a little tab. And this tab, you pull down to lock, you push up to unlock. See, that's going to allow the headlight to come through, because this little block gets locked when you pull it down. This, when I bought this truck, this one on this side was already broken. So if they're not there, I mean, it's not the end of the world, because I haven't had any issues with this, wiggling or falling out. So long as these bolts are tight, this one and this one. Now you're gonna probably want some kind of workbench. As you can see on the back there, these are 8mm bolts. You're gonna want to take all of those guys out, and then this whole plate's gonna come right off. So now whether you're doing the low beams or the low beams and high beams, you can now finally put your bulbs in. However, you'll notice that's not a lot of clearance for a high beam LED light bulb, especially when you have to get it in there, like at that kind of an angle. So what I did for mine was I actually put my lenses in the oven at, I believe it was 300 degrees, and then I'd check it about every 5 minutes. Made sure to put a cloth between it and the rack, so that way the metal didn't actually heat the plastic and melt anything. And then what I did was basically this black piece right here would flex just enough so that way I could fit my LED bulb in. So luckily with the low beams you don't have to do that, but it will be a question of clearance, because as you can see, that's not also a lot of room there. Now you'll see with LEDs you'll have the bulb, but you'll also get a resistor to go with it. So basically what happens is you plug this end, I believe it is, into the, this end into the factory harness. It will go through this resistor, and then you plug this into the other line on your bulbs. With all LED bulbs, you're going to want to get a resistor, because LEDs are a very efficient light bulb, and for you to not put a resistor could potentially set off engine codes, or it can make your lights stop working or work very oddly. For example, I actually have LEDs on this vehicle, the Ford Escape here, and when I put my LED bulbs for the low beams, what actually happened was, and this was without a resistor, my fog lights actually stopped working entirely, and the only lights I could use, I believe, were my low beams and my blinkers. Everything else was not working properly. So you're going to lift this tab, pull this off. Now you're going to have to make room to put everything, but then this is going to twist counterclockwise and out. I'm going to grab your new bulb, and you can tell if it's going to work just by looking at it like so. You can see these tabs are going to be the difference between your H11s, your H12s. All of these are going to be different just because of these fins. So the fins are basically what's going to determine whether it works or not. You're going to line it up according to the pattern, and you're going to twist it clockwise. And then once it's resting, that's basically where it's going to stay. Now, from there, you grab this guy. You're going to look for the tab, because that's what's going to lock it in place. So now that's secure. You put this in here. There's also going to be a little notch for it to line up in this specific case. So if it's not working, if it's not going together, that might be why, so double check. And then this piece is going to go over top and screw into place. It's going to hold it nice and tight, and it probably acts as a bit of weather conditioning if your vehicle may need that, like my Ford. So now this is the fun part. Basically, for the rams, you just fit it wherever it can. Resistors majority of the time will heat up. However, I haven't had issues so far with my high beams. Obviously they don't run as much as a low beam setup, but other people from my knowledge have been doing this for quite some time, and it seems to be working for them. So I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing. So as you can see, it's a bit crammed. I tucked this guy back this way and around, and this one I tucked over here and then pulled it back around that way. So now I'm going to put the plate back on and hopefully everything fits.
Is it too big?
I think it might be.
That's what she said.
Okay, well that didn't really want to fit properly. As you can see, it's flexing it quite a bit. So if this side goes down, then this may work. And if not, I might have to cut the plastic a bit. Yeah, I must have broken the clip. I did it last time. I swore that was how I did it.
What, you break the clip?
Damn!